All right, I am live. I'm just jumping right in it today. Thank you so much for joining us for this video here, and so glad that you guys are here. And for those that are joining us live, great. And if you're catching this on the record, that's fine. I'm glad that you're here as well. So just make sure you let other people know about this one. All right, and we really appreciate it. So in this broadcast today, we're going to talk about some solutions, because we always, we on this platform, we do point out some of the things that are going on in the community, in around us or whatever. But we also like to talk about solutions as well. What are some things that we can do to make our lives better? What are some things we can do to make the people around us better if they choose to be? But we have to see ourselves as agents of change, no doubt. But it starts with us. You got to be the first agent. Okay. So in this broadcast, what we're going to talk about today is, again, health, one of my favorite subjects here, and the importance of it. If you've been following us over on our Samba Tree YouTube page, if you're not a subscriber over there, please go ahead and subscribe, because we have been doing a series talking about all the functionalities of the brain. I know that doesn't sound too exciting. I get it, but it is imperative for us to learn this. And I want you to understand why. We all use computers all the time, do we not? We use these devices, telephones and, cell phones and all of that. They don't even say telephones anymore. It's cell phones, but you get what I'm saying. But the technology that they use to develop these products, they get inspired by what's here, right up here. This is the inspiration. So this is why today you have something called artificial intelligence. All right. But that's artificial. So if that's artificial, what's the real intelligence? It's this. But Dwayne, wait a minute. I know some people that are really dumb, that act dumb. Yeah, that's because, unfortunately, there are many of us who have not gotten the full education, if you will, on why this is so important. And so that is on us to make sure that we're doing that, so that we can optimize this and really walk out being the real intelligence, instead of just 100,000% relying on artificial intelligence like we're seeing today. Okay, there's still hope, you believe it or not. So today, real quick, we're just going to talk about a couple of things that I want you to make sure that you are focusing on. As you know, there's if you just take a scan in the news, if you take a scan just looking at, just on your timeline, what do you see? You see a lot of people angry. You see a lot of people that are cynical. You see a lot of people that when they look around them or whatever, they really don't have any conversation, for the most part, always turns to the negative, doesn't it? Aren't you tired of that? You don't have to live like that. You don't. And there are things that we can do. Unfortunately, we live in a society where a lot of people are addicted to that. They can't get through the day without cynicism. They can't get through the day without being negative about something. Well, you don't have to be that way. All right. We can change some things. Now, if you've been following us on TikTok, if you've been following us on Instagram, we have been really stressing lately the importance of exposing yourself to sunlight. Now, for some of you who have been following us for some time on this platform, I talk about that a whole lot. But recently I did a series, not a series, I did a couple of videos where I pointed out if you are someone that is moving to a state like Arizona, like where we are, or you're moving to a state that is known for a lot of sunlight, and you're someone that has a lot of melanin in your skin like I do, and I was just mentioning the benefits, which we're going to go through again, the benefits of you getting exposure to the sun. I was getting people coming back to me like, wow, I didn't know that. I'm talking about black folks. And they were saying, yeah, because I'm taking these, my vitamin D supplements and all of that and all. And I was like, what? I mean, you get maximum sun here. Now, we're not saying, don't take the supplements. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is you are, you want to talk about getting the most amount of sun that can not only reduce that deficiency, but pretty much eliminate it. But yet you got people who they're not even familiar with that. They don't even know that, oh, okay, 1 + 1 = 2. They don't know that. And I'm not clowning anybody that doesn't know that. I'm just pointing it out because this is basic education, unfortunately, that many of us did not get. And so, yes, I am going to continue to sound like a broken record on this topic until people get it. And I'm going to explain why this is so important. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk very briefly about some herbs that are out here that you can take that will help with your, if you're dealing with blood pressure, high blood pressure stuff going on. There's some herbs that you can take that you can get in your life right now that will aid and assist with that. Okay. Because I told you our personal goal, and Samba Tree, if you don't know, real quick, this was a company that my wife and I started. The baseline of it is this. Our goal is this, is to get as many people that look like us out of the hospitals. That is our goal, to eradicate high blood pressure, to eliminate and eradicate diabetes. That is our goal. And that is what we're aiming. Every day when I get up, that's what I'm thinking. Well, how can we get, okay, I'm looking at the battle plans. I'm like, okay, where are we with this right now? And we've been fortunate. We've been getting emails from some of y'all, or a lot of y'all over the years have been saying, hey, listen, I've been noticing a change. I've been noticing a difference. I go back to my doctor and like, man, what are you doing? And so this ain't some special formula or whatever we're putting up here. What we're providing is education. That's it. And most of it is free and stuff that you can look up on your own. But we're here to guide and to help you with that so that we can fix this. Now, why is this important? Because a lot of the news items that we talk about on this platform, there are things that, yes, it will run your blood pressure up. It will get you frustrated. It will get you mad, right? But what I'm saying is we can address a lot of this stuff right now. When we talk about, the high crime rate and all this other stuff, right? Yep, all that is true. But when you start breaking down what are the contributing factors, yes, there's a lot of contributing factors. But one of them is tied to how we are treating our bodies, our own bodies. Okay, this is a very important part that I'm sharing with you now. Your physiology, and I've said this many times, will tell you exactly what your body needs. Now, what do I mean by that? In other words, when you when you go to a car lot and you see sports cars, you see cars that are off-road vehicles, you see family vehicles, you see electric vehicles, right? All of them, when you look at them and when you learn a little bit about them, they will tell you, okay, we're vehicles. We will get you to point A to point B and point B to point A, but we require a special treatment, right? That's when you go to cars, and that's what it's like. Likewise, when you look at people, we come in all shapes, right? And we have different unique physiologies that are different than others, right? Well, it's the same thing. When you look at our bodies, when you look at your body, and we're going to take, for example, our body, those of us that are Black American, right? When you look at our bodies, when you see the sizes of our noses, and this is something I talk about a lot, what that tells you is that your ancestors were in an environment where it required exposure to humidity. You need to have humidity in your life. Now, I know for those of you who live down south, in some of these areas here, it could be, I understand. Trust me, I get it. Trust me. I don't know how our brothers and sisters do it down in places like Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Arkansas. I don't know how y'all do it, but it's, it is what it is. But and even for those that live in Florida. Now, let me highlight something. Now, when we lived in Florida, my wife, she used to talk about how her hair was so moisturized all the time. She didn't really have to do anything, because her hair was always moisturized and her skin was always moisturized. That is the optimum environment for people like us. That's why many of us are so attracted to living in that part of the country. Because of that, the climate, it matches what our physiology demands are. Do you understand what I'm saying? So yes, that is important. But what about those of us who don't live in those climates? Does that mean that it all goes away? No, well, no, it doesn't. Those requirements are still there. So what we do to fulfill that, we talked about how the importance of getting a humidifier, getting a mister, getting things that want to make sure there are certain plants like spider plants, snake plants, plants that release humidity into your environment. Your house should be filled with plants. That helps with this, right? And this is tied to this, right? And how you think and how you process things. It's not about just having glowing skin or just nice moisturized hair, but it also helps and aids with how you process things, right? And we'll get into that another time. But today, what we're going to talk about very briefly is your exposure to sunlight. I cannot emphasize enough the importance of getting exposure to sunlight. This is related to, trust me, to a lot of things that you as an individual may go through. It does. It is. Like, for example, again, how you handle stress, how you think through things. Many of us, when we moved, when we were brought here into this environment, we were forced. I'm talking about, slavery. We were forced to adjust to the Western lifestyle, right? And what do I mean by the Western lifestyle? When you get up in the morning, what happens? When you get up in the morning, you've been sleeping all night in your house, right? That's, you're detached from the sun. You see sunlight coming through your window, but glass, it does block UV rays, right? So that's one thing. So we're not really getting full sunlight even in that situation. You eat your breakfast, then you get in your car, right? When you go outside for a little bit to get to your car, so you get that little bit of sunlight, then you get into the car. But guess what? Your car has glass around it too. So you're not getting optimum sunlight. Then once you get in, you pull in the parking lot, you get out of your car, you walk to the office, you get a little bit of sunlight, but then you're back in the office and now you're under these digital lights. And these digital lights are not, ultimately, they are not good for us. They're not. These LED lights, they are not. So I would highly recommend, if you can find some incandescent lights, and they're starting to put these back out on the market, get you some incandescent lights. Get them. You need to get them. All right. And if you can find them, there's certain places online. If you look hard enough, there are places that you can still buy them. I would also recommend going to Facebook Marketplace. A lot of times you'll come across people who are selling them as well. But get you these lights, because these lights, the frequency that's coming out of these lights are not conducive to how you were made. They're not. Sunlight is. The information that we receive from the sun is information that our body understands, recognizes, and knows exactly what to do with it. And that's why, and it takes that information to optimize and make you into a healthy being. These digital lights are man-made, but they're putting out a different frequency. And the frequency that these things are putting out, they're not conducive for our health. They're not. So you want to make sure as little exposure as possible to these LED lights. Okay. So anyway, so that's very, very important. So that's why one of the reason why sunlight is so important. But let's get into this very quickly here. Very quickly, I just want to highlight some of the importance of you exposing yourself to sunlight. Number one is vitamin D. Your body produces vitamin D. I know many of you have heard this before, but I got to keep repeating this because a lot of times it just goes over people's head. We hear this stuff and we're like, yeah, we're the people of the sun. Yeah, we're the sun people and all that, but you're not practicing it. And I'm saying you need to practice this, all right? Because it's going to help a lot of y'all with stress. It's also going to help a lot of y'all that deal with this thing I'm about to mention. And that is when you are not getting enough sleep, all right? There's a lot of people out here, more and more, this condition, they call sleep apnea. That's one thing, but it's another condition out there as well, where a lot of people are complaining, hey, it's hard for me to go to sleep. When you expose yourself to sunlight, what it does, it tells your body, start producing serotonin. Serotonin. Serotonin is a chemical that your body produces that helps align your moods. You got a lot of moody people out there, right? It helps align your moods, and it also helps your circadian rhythm. What is that? Basically, it gets you into it tells you it's your internal clock that tells you, okay, it's time for you to lay your behind down. You need to go to sleep. So when you expose yourself to the sun, that is the messaging that's coming from the sun to your bodies. You're not getting it from these LED lights. You can only get that from the sun. So if you cut yourself off from the sun, you're not getting the messaging. Do you understand what I'm saying? So you got to make sure, if you want that condition to be fixed, if you're having issues going to sleep, you need to make sure you're exposing yourself to that. Okay? So it helps with that production. All right? So that's one. The other thing that it is great for is building up your immune system. All right? Your immune system. Many of us, we are programmed and trained to go to, get a bottle from somewhere, to take a pill here, take a pill there, or whatever. We're trained to do that. But there are many natural things that are out here, starting with the sun, that will help build and boost your immune system. Isn't it interesting that they were telling people, doing the COVID stuff, they were saying, make sure you stay inside. Make sure you stay inside, right? That's a strange thing to tell people if their immune systems are down, especially when you look at hospitals back in the day. They used to have open wings where people would they will let their patients sit out in the sun. Gee, I wonder why they stopped doing that. Sun treatment. Okay. Anyway, before I lose, because I just remembered, when you live as a Westerner, I'm talking particularly for us as Black Americans, or anybody that has dark skin for that matter, you can even be Mexican. It don't matter. If you have more melanin in your skin than what you see with a white person, for example, people who have light skin, they don't need to be out in the sun as long. They don't need to be out there as long because the UV rays, it just goes right through hits the parts that needs to hit in their bodies, and that's it. So they can get in and get out. But on average, if you look this up, what is recommended is for people that have darker skin, you should be out. You should have at the max or at the least up to a half an hour of sun exposure. Now that could be throughout the day. That can be all at one time. It doesn't matter. But you need to have at least that amount of sun exposure. All right. Now, the lighter you go in your skin complexion, then that means you can adjust accordingly. Like someone who's a complexion of my wife, she don't necessarily need to be out as much. That's why you listen to your body, right? When you listen to your body will tell you, hey man, this skin's starting to bake here. You needed to bring this thing back in. Listen to your body and do that. I'm not a big fan at all as sunscreen, sunblock. I'm personally not a fan of that. Unfortunately, I'm on a platform where I can't delve into the reasons why of that. I would just say there are some natural alternatives, including if you can get something, maybe some long sleeves, perhaps, you can start with that. But there are some other alternatives to sunscreen, sunblock, or whatever. If you find yourself needing that, I would highly recommend at least going the natural herbal path, as opposed, I would not do the stuff on the counter. I wouldn't do that. Because again, there's a lot of stuff and you can look this stuff on your own. Okay. So definitely for that, boosting your immune system. There are many of you who have conditions and stuff and you've been like, man, why am I having this persistent this or that or whatever? Ask yourself, how long have you been out in the sun? How long you been out in the sun today? Well, that's start with that. Okay. And if you're going to move out into or live in a place like here in Arizona, Southern California, Florida, places that are known for getting a lot of sun, you need to do that. Now, when you look at the majority of Black folks that in this country, the majority of us live in regions that don't get as much sun. This is why there's a high rate of vitamin D deficiency amongst Black people. You need to get the sun. When you get exposure to the sun, it will resolve many of these things, particularly psychological. If you're dealing with depression, There's a lot of people that are dealing with depression right now. Exposure to sunlight will help resolve that. I'm not saying it's the cure all. I'm saying it will help resolve that. Okay? These are free. What I'm telling you, everything I'm telling you right now is free. Now, you should also take what you call it, supplements. You could take supplements as well if you're not getting, if you're in an area that's not getting as amount of sun as like if you lived in Florida, Southern California, whatever, take those supplements. But even in a place like this, I still take supplements on top of my daily exposure of sunlight. You know what I mean? So again, do not take this lightly. Because all the stress and stuff that you see happening on social media on a daily basis, we get so used to the stress, it's normal. We normalize it. We normalize our stress. And what I'm telling you is you don't have to live that way. You don't. All right? There is a solution for that. And that's what we talked about. But the other stuff too, that it just starts with that. But then you got to also address some of the other issues. You got people in your life that's bringing stress. Okay, all the sun in the world sometime ain't gonna run away the people that are bringing stress in your life. I'm just saying the things that you can immediately control right now, you can do this. You can put this in practice right now. So again, I'm going to sound like a broken record on this platform, but I'm going to keep saying this over and over again until you get it, because there is no reason, there's no excuse. It's free of charge. Everybody can do this. Everybody can make sure that they are exposing themselves to the sun. And I'm telling you, when you do that, you will begin to see some differences in your health and in your wellness. Okay? So that's number one here. Now, let's mention the other thing here. Let's get to this real quick here. I want to talk just briefly about people who are dealing with blood pressure issues, right? And we over at Sometry, oftentimes we'll get people asking, oh, what's some of the things that you have that can address that? Well, we got a lot of things, but I just want to mention a few things right now. I would start off with, Richardson, I see what you're saying. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. And thank you for leaving that comment. What was I going to say? Because he mentioned in his book that we talked about The Healing Sun. Make sure you get that. If you get your hands on that, that's a very good book, and it breaks down all of this stuff that I'm talking about. But okay, right now what we're going to talk about is blood pressure. There are many of you, or maybe you got people in your household that are have been dealing with blood pressure issues for a number of years. Okay, and what I am telling you, I want you to look in my brown eyes. Okay. And by the way, that brown, not the pupil part, right? But how for some of you, the white part, you may see brown all up in there. That brown, that's melanin. Some of you, we got so much melanin in us. It shows up in our eyes. It shows up in our gums sometimes. Melanin is a wonderful thing, but we need to know how to make sure we're optimizing it. And that's what this broadcast is about. Okay, so the other thing is what are some of the herbs that we can take to help improve our blood pressure, to regulate it? And some of these we actually do sell over on Sometry. There's probably one of these things or two of these things we don't. But either way, it's, we do want you to, regardless of where you go, just to get it. The first one is sarsaparilla. I know many of you have heard sarsaparilla before. But let me just read this to you so that you can, sarsaparilla. Sarsaparilla is a root, okay? It's often talked about for its role in improving circulation and reducing inflammation. In the context of blood pressure, better circulation means the heart doesn't have to work as hard to push blood through stiff or inflamed vessels. So this is a great herb to have, sarsaparilla root. Make sure you look for that. Okay. That's one option. Okay. And I would also recommend to, if you are taking medication, just mention it to your doctor. If you're under medical care, just mention it to them and just make sure it's not going to conflict with anything at all, but I would just definitely just tell you that we are not advocating taking all your medicines that you're taking from your doctor and throwing them in the trash. We're not doing that. But what we are saying is, there are things that you can do now to start taking control of your health where you can safely wean yourself off of that. but you have to make sure you're doing that under the care of someone who's licensed and can help and walk you through that process. Okay. But it can be done. All right. What I'm trying to get is for people to get out of this circular thinking where well, my mama's been on high blood pressure. I'm going to have high blood pressure, and my children, they're going to have high blood pressure too. No. We're breaking that. We're breaking that. Okay. You do not have to live that way. All right. This has so much impact. Your blood pressure has so much impact on how you think and how you process things. It is. This is the real root of stuff that we're talking about here. Elderberry root. Elderberry root. I believe we do have this over at sombertree.com. Many of us know elderberry for its immune boosting berries, but the root has also been used in folk medicine. Traditionally, elderberry root has been considered a gentle detoxifier, supporting both kidneys and lymphatic system and the lymphatic system. By promoting fluid balance, it could indirectly help regulate blood pressure. Okay, so this is another one. Look for elderberry root. This is another one called hydrangea root. Hydrangea root. That's what it's called. Hydrangea root has long been valued in Native American and folk medicine as a kidney tonic. Because the kidneys play a central role in regulating blood pressure, herbs that support kidney function are often considered beneficial for those struggling with hypertension. You know, hypertension, that's a big thing, particularly amongst Black men. We can fix this. Hydrangea helps the body excrete excess salts and fluids, which can reduce blood pressure and on the arteries. Hydrangea root. And then the final one is yellow dock root. I'm sure many of you have heard this. Yellow dock is often used as a liver and blood cleanser. It encourages proper digestion and elimination, which helps reduce toxins in the bloodstream. A cleaner, less burdened bloodstream supports smoother circulation, which is a key factor in maintaining healthy blood pressure. Some traditions also recognize it as mildly laxative, which helps keep waste and excess buildup from stressing the body. Listen, you don't have to be, everyone is not going to be a Dr. Sebi. Okay. You're not going to be, know all this stuff in the back of your hand and all this stuff. What we are encouraging you to do is to take an active role in correcting this stuff. Some of this stuff is just generational. When I look at some of these people and how they just react and snap off, and you disrespected me and I'm going to chop your head off, I'm going to shoot you and all this stuff. It's not government policy that we need. It's us taking initiative and changing in how we treat our bodies. The problem is that many of us, we do not know how to interpret our own physiology. I just told you about our noses, and our noses are telling us what we require. And I just also told you about your skin tone. Your skin tone is screaming that, hey, you need sunlight in your life and you're not getting enough. Your body is screaming that. We're looking at different programs. We're looking at, we need a certain amount of money. We need this or that or whatever. What I just told to you, you don't need the government at all. You do not. All right. Many of these things you can go out right now. Today, you can make this change. Today, you can start changing some of this generational thinking that has been destructive to many of us and to our families. You can do that now. You can do this. All right. And, you can, people's perspective on how they see, how Black men see Black women and vice versa. We can fix this stuff and we can change it. It doesn't require some huge government initiative. It starts with you. And when you begin to initiate this in your life, you're going to see very quickly that it's not going to be a group thing. It's a you thing. Do you understand? It's not a group thing. It's a you thing. You. Okay. Not anybody else, because a lot of people aren't going to get it, but you'll get it. Okay. As long as you put this stuff into practice, you'll begin to see the change. And as change starts taking place, guess what? The people around you that don't want to change with you, guess what? They're going to fall off. And guess what? They need to. I don't care what color they are. I don't care if they're family members. Some people need to stay the way, keep that hell over there. Okay? We're trying to live a higher life. We're trying to live an optimized life over here. And you can do that, but it starts with you making a choice and making a decision. All right? That's why we do what we do here over on this platform. Okay? Now, real quick, I'll just show you very quickly our website. If you haven't checked it out, it's right here. It's sambatree.com. Right here. So we came up with a whole line of products. These are products that we put together. It's called the Brain New product line. And these are products that are herbs that we put together that will help optimize various parts of your brain, prefrontal cortex, your amygdala, and bring balance and all this stuff. You know what I mean? These things are great. And then we got a lot of people have been asking about our cat's claw powder. We got that back in stock. This powder here, if you got an issue where you're addicted to sugar, many people are addicted to sugar. All right. Because when you're going to live in the Western world, unfortunately, they put sugar in everything. But if you're trying to reduce the amount of sugar, those sugar cravings, here you go right here. Nature already saw way ahead of us and said, you know what? These people, they're going to be addicted to sugar. So let me go ahead and put this in the leaves somewhere so that you can, start changing your course, your trajectory when it comes to your sugar there. We got something for that. We put together a book here, The Wonders of Moringa. A lot of times people get moringa and they don't really know what that's, okay, what do I do with it? We got a whole book, $3.99 digital book, and it tells you all about it. We got a whole section of teas, for body care, whole nine. This is what we're all about here. And we try to educate you as much as possible. I typically don't do videos like this on this particular platform. Typically, I would do this over on our Sambatree YouTube page. But yeah, every now and then I'm going to start doing videos here just to show you that, yes, we are about solutions, and we are constantly providing solutions and all the time here on this platform and on other platforms as well. So make sure you go check it out over on sambatree.com. And if you have any questions at all for me, I will stay here for 2 minutes. I'm going to hang out for 2 minutes. If you got any questions for me, I'm going to give you an opportunity to do it. So I'm going to stick around here. Meanwhile, let me look through these comments real quick and see what y'all have. This is a gentleman by the name of Walter. He said, well, like one of my doctors said, just go vegetarian. Yeah, for some people, that is an option. That would be or fruitarian, he said. Yeah, for some people, that is. Like, you got some people who are really will tell you that, hey, listen, they're very dogmatic and say, we're not supposed to eat meat at all. I'm not there. Okay. I get what they're saying. I've seen what they presented. I'm personally not there. Okay. But I do understand what they're saying. And what it's done is heightened when I do get meat, it heightened my when I say sensitivity, meaning that I'm going to make sure, okay, where does meat come from? Okay, this tastes funny. There's been times I have gotten some meat from somewhere, and I'm like, wait a minute, this don't look like regular meat. This thing look like they done glued it together or something. I throw it out. I'm like, I ain't eating this. Instead of just, I paid, $10 for this. I'm going to eat all of it. Nah, Learn to listen to your body. And what's part of your body? Your eyes. What's part of your body? Your brain. And if you're eating something and, they said it's chicken, but it don't really taste like chicken, throw it out. It ain't worth it. You know what I'm saying? I've done that many times. It's like, nope, I'm sorry. Well, I didn't know, but now I know. It's a lesson I had to pay for, but guess what? I won't be coming back here. You know what I'm saying? Learn to read these labels and take what they put on these labels seriously. But also know, too, they're not going to put everything on the labels, right? So investigate, ask questions. You got ChatGPT, you got Grok, you got some of these other, you got one called Claude, you got Gemini, where you can ask these very detailed questions about certain foods and stuff. You can even do a search and say, show me the restaurants in my area that have that only cook with non-seed oils. You can find that information just like that. Okay. Now is the time you can make the change. Okay. You can do it. And we're going to be, my wife and I, we're going to be your biggest cheerleaders on this side here and saying you can do it. You can change. You can do it. Make sure you visit us over at sambatree.com. Again, the website is sambatree.com. If you ever have any questions for us at all, again, we are not licensed. Don't pretend to be, but we are learning and we know quite a bit on these things here. So make sure you check us out over there and check out the stuff we have for skincare, for dental, the whole nine. We are about 100%. Meaning these, what we have here are things that we use in our own house. And we have seen the difference for ourselves. If you haven't, if you're someone that want to take it up even further, make sure you go to our Samba University, where you can sign up for our alternate day fasting class already recorded. All you got to do is click, download, get started. The amount of testimonies that we're getting out of here is amazing. People are dropping weight left and right, and it's showing you the proper way of doing fasting, and people are seeing changes in their lives. That's what we're about here. All right. To help and to assist and to point in a way where you can you can excel in the area of health and wellness. So anyway, that is all I had for you today. I just wanted to jump on here real quick. Thank you so much for tuning in. Listen, you guys take care, and I will see you again next time on our next broadcast. You guys take care. See you soon.